as we discussed before, Prince Andrew, Epstein, and their dirty deeds continue to unravel and come into the light. And as we discussed before, the media continues to try and shift focus away from the royal family and their real scandals and create scandal with Harry and Meghan, specifically with Meghan. Well, Feminegra is calling them out, and I applaud them. We have a lot to get into, so let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to get into two articles from Feminegra where they're calling out the media for their ridiculous hypocrisy, but also for trying to shift blame and focus away from the real scandals from the royal family and trying to shift focus on Harry and Meghan. Start with the tone. The language used in recent commentary is not just critical. It is personal, biased, and in some cases, openly contemptuous. One recent column in the Spectator veered into mockery of Meghan's upcoming women's event, dismissing it as navel-gazing and framing it as a self-indulgent spectacle rather than what it is being marketed as, a wellness-focused gathering with a charitable angle. Quote, I sincerely doubt that Meghan's get-together will be that much fun. It's mired in me mulch already. The secret of throwing a great party is making people forget themselves. This, on the other French manicured hand, sounds like an en masse navel-gazing, featuring as it does a psychology session, sound healing, meditation, and manifestation, which can often end up being quite the downer. You just know the wine will be cheap. No one will get to ask anything interesting, like how many yachts she was a guest on before she met her prince, or what that special thing she must have done in order to hook a man who's admittedly dim. That was written by Julie Birchhill for The Spectator. Before I continue with Feminegra, Julie, whatever the hell is going on with you, girl, it is bleeding through in your work. And I'm just being real. I don't even know if I can call what I just read work. That sounded like it belonged in a diary. That sounded like the kind of thing a person would write in a manifesto. That sounds like something someone would write before they hurt themselves or others. That sounded like I'm about to snap any moment now, and here's my last call for help. That didn't sound healthy. That sounded like obsession. Whatever it is that you're really upset about, whatever it is that's really triggering you, it has nothing to do with Meghan. Girl, you need some damn help. Julie Churchill, was that her name? Birchhill. Julie Birchhill, you need some help. You need to talk to a therapist. That's not normal behavior. That's not normal rhetoric. That sounded like an aggravated person. If you get where I'm coming from, that sounded like it was deep in the gut hatred. But you can't actually hate someone to that extent that you don't know. So whatever it is that you're focusing on to Meghan is actually something you need to be exploring deep within yourself. Julie, you need some damn help, girl. That's not okay. If I ever caught myself speaking about another person like that, I would have to self-check. I would talk to a therapist. I would go to my doctor. I would be like, hey, is something wrong with me medically? Is something triggering me mentally? But is something wrong with me medically? Am I low on iron? Do I need a snack? My brain to be sending off thoughts like that? I'm not taking care of me. Something is not right. I'm imbalanced in some way. Julie Birchhill, you need some damn help. That sounds like the type of thing that I would want to know someone said or wrote about me, because I would want them to have to stay 100 feet away from me at all times, and I would want them to never have access to a weapon. It also matters who is doing the mocking. This is not a neutral observer offering good faith critique. This is a columnist with a documented history of incendiary commentary about Meghan Sussex, including remarks that crossed into outright racism and cost her a previous platform. She was fired for suggesting Georgina Floydina for a royal baby name. What a missed opportunity. They could have called it Georgina Floydina. So like I said, before I even continued, I knew it was bleeding through on the page. You need some damn help, Julie. Some people are irredeemable. I remember that episode of Golden Girls when Dorothy was trying to scare that little girl for not giving Rose her teddy bear back. And she said, I'm going to call the people and they're going to come and they're going to put you in a sack and they're going to carry you off. Like, we need the elders to come through and threaten some of these people with that same type of fear, because people do not fear real consequences enough for me. Because at what point do we stop reading and watching and observing people? And then at what point does that cross over into maybe they need to spend some time, maybe on a 72-hour hold? Because if you're saying things like this, I can only imagine the things you don't verbalize. And I can only imagine the type of simmering hatred, self-hatred and otherwise, that's bubbling beneath the surface that might even erupt into some kind of physical act or even violence. I'm concerned because words, intent, and tone precede action. You can usually tell when someone is about to go off the deep end. And sometimes people don't go off the deep end on themselves. They go off on the deep end and they take others with them. Those are the type of people I'm most concerned about, because I don't want your bad day, your self-hatred, your bubbling racism to become someone else's problem. It would be nice if it wasn't your problem either and you were able to get some damn help for it. But in the meantime, I would prefer that you keep that in-house. If you have to sleep on those thoughts, then do that. But to externalize them, and then on top of that, to be given a platform to externalize them, girl, again, these are the instances where I say, if someone were to say something like that about me, I would want them to be on a 72-hour hold, and I would want them to not have access to weapons, and I would want them to have to stay at least 150 feet away from me at all times. I would want somewhere, a registry, to know exactly where they are at all times and to document their goings on, because those are not the words or the tone of a person who is okay. Now, I don't know her, but judging by the communication she has put into the zeitgeist, something ain't right there. There are several screws that are loose and very rusty. So when the same voice now frames a woman's wellness event as frivolous and leans into tired stereotypes about ego and vanity, it does not read as wit. It reads as a pattern. The bar is not high here, but the consistency is telling. Strip away the sarcasm, and what remains is a familiar reflex: diminish, ridicule, personalize, and then present it as commentary. That might be brushed off as one columnist venting. It would be easier to ignore if it stopped there. It does not. I also want to pause. It is not a columnist, a commentator, or a reporter's job to tell us what does and does not work for them. It is their job to give opinion, but to give fact. Make sure we are aware of the difference in their work. So if I were to say, here's the information in front of me, here's what I think about it, that is okay. But for me to say, I'm just going to jumble it all up into a big information soup. You can verify, you cannot verify. I don't really care, because I'm just going to spew hatred and shove it down your throat. That is a problem. And that's not doing your job. Imagine if other professions were allowed to get away with that type of thing. Imagine going to your doctor's office and they were to say, you know what, you're overweight. This is a concern. These are all the health risks associated. But instead of saying that, they say, get your fat ass out of here. I don't like fat people. I hate fat people. I'm just doing my job. Made an observation. It's my job. That would not be acceptable, would it? Because other professions are not allowed to personalize what they do. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody makes observations. Everybody with a job has made an observation about their clients or customers. That's just human nature. But what they don't do in other professions, in most professions, they don't allow you to externalize the worst of yourself onto your clients and customers and be praised for it under the guise of an opinion. You still have to have some damn decorum. There's still standards. And what I'm observing is that there are no standards in the media, especially for people like Julie Burchill. That might be brushed off as one columnist venting. It would be easier to ignore if it stopped there. It doesn't. A widely circulated report has also leaned on anonymous claims about Meghan Sussex's conduct in meetings, including the suggestion that she tends to talk over or recast Prince Harry's thoughts, sometimes while he is mid-sentence. The response to that framing was not vague or delayed. It was direct. In a letter addressing the claim, the couple's attorney said it seems calculated to play into the misogynistic characterization of her bossing her husband around. Prince Harry went further, calling the allegation categorically false. The same report also hinted at a cooling relationship with Netflix, a claim the company itself rejected as absolutely inaccurate. The piece included a claim about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's interactions and meetings, with sources saying Meghan tends to talk over or recast Prince Harry's thoughts, sometimes while he is mid-sentence. In a letter to Variety, the couple's attorney, Michael J. Kump, pushed back on that characterization, saying it seems calculated to play into the misogynistic characterization of her bossing her husband around. Prince Harry also called the claim categorically false. The Variety article also suggested that the relationship between Harry and Meghan and Netflix has cooled, though a spokesperson for the streamer said it absolutely is inaccurate, that executives have lost faith in the couple. The record is clear, the pushback exists on the record and in plain language. It's just not what leads the coverage. This is where the timing stops looking coincidental and starts looking obvious. Because spikes like this do not just happen, they arrive right on a coordinated cue. And right now, something is very clearly moving. UK police are assessing what has been described as a whole range of sexual allegations linked to Jeffrey Epstein, while pushing for unredacted files from the United States that reportedly reference Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, and Peter Mandelson. Multiple forces are now reviewing material tied to Andrew's conduct as a trade envoy, including whether confidential information was passed to Epstein. This is not background chatter. This is an active and expanding investigation, with pressure building in public and behind the scenes. Thank you so much for watching the Sharion Sade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button, and don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. I feel like my read of Tom Bower on Monday kind of carries over into today. Just a bunch of miserable people hurling insults, criticisms, and abuse at another person and expecting us to turn the other way. And we're simply not going to. I want Harry and Meghan to have peace, but the fact that their meetings are even being dissected, the fact that whenever they decide to do something that actually benefits the world, they're scrutinized for it, the fact that just showing up means knowing that they have to prepare for these hypocritical takes, a bunch of lies. No one should be living like that. And again, the reason we have to keep talking about it, the reason it has to continuously be part of the conversation is that if we stay silent about it, if we choose to ignore it, if we decide to look the other way, we normalize it. And that is part of the unfairness of it all as well. Not only do Harry and Meghan not deserve to be treated that way, not only is media responsible for giving us information, unbiased and objective information, and we can't even trust them, but also the burden of duty is then put on viewers and spectators as well. When we should be getting factual information from our media and our news sources, we're having to do their job by double checking everything, by checking behind everything, by researching every person with a platform. While it brings me great pleasure to do that because I love knowing exactly where my information is coming from and I love knowing that what I choose to hold on to is in fact true, we shouldn't have to do that. They should be doing their jobs. When we fact check, when we research, it should only be doubling down on something that was already done by professionals. Instead, they're putting the onus onto us because we know they're full of shit. We know they're lies. We choose not to believe it, and we should continue to go down that path. It's still not a job that we should be doing. The media needs to hold its people responsible. Platforms need to hold their staff responsible. People with a personal agenda who are looking to use your millions of viewers and spectators, etc., your platform, they're looking to carry out their personal grievances, that should be checked at the door. That is something you should be weeding out in the hiring process. Hell, your hiring pool shouldn't even contain that type of vermin. Your standards should be higher as the media. We shouldn't have to deal with listening to the rantings and ravings of psychotic people with an obsession and a whole bunch of hatred in their heart when we're just trying to get the news. I just want to know what's going on. I want details on the trip in Australia. I want details on their engagements. I want details on their volunteer and philanthropy work. I want details on their business. I don't want to hear Susie Q and Julie Birchill and all these nonsensical people's opinions about Harry and Meghan when they don't even know Harry and Meghan. And even if they did know Harry and Meghan, if they know them well enough to talk on them, they know it well enough to go talk to them. So we still don't need to know their opinions. We just need the facts. And if you media platforms can't provide the facts, at least leave us the hell alone. Maybe you're not cut out for that type of work, darling, and that's okay. Maybe you should go do something else. You should go work in another field. But if you're not prepared to actually carry out your duty on any of these platforms, which is fact checking, which is making sure that what you put out is objective and unbiased, and if you are not planning to conduct yourself and others in an ethical manner, perhaps you are not in the right field of work, having access to millions of eyes and ears. It's just that simple. If someone handed me a scalpel and a face mask and said, go to work, fix this clogged artery, I would just faint. I would be on the table right next to them because I'm not qualified. What I wouldn't do is trot my happy ass up into a field of work that I know I'm not qualified for and let have just because I feel like it. Nor should people allow me to do that. I feel like the media needs to recognize the weight that's actually on you. You are actually filling the brains of millions of people with information that you have access to. You have access and the means to fact check, and you have the ability to reach everyone, and you're choosing to do so carelessly. We should be able to rely on our news sources to verify, validate, and actually deliver information and news responsibly. There is no reason for us to know that Julie Burchill doesn't like Meghan Sussex. There's also no reason for Julie Burchill's stupid ass to not like Meghan Sussex, because she doesn't know Meghan Sussex. And even if she didn't know Meghan Sussex and she only observed what Meghan Sussex has done in the public eye, there's still no reason to dislike her. But to then project that onto Meghan by way of us and our eyes and ears, how you've now implicated me, and I don't take that kindly. You need to be responsible. If you're going to use your platform to share information, you need to do so responsibly and ethically. And if you don't, you should face consequences. In any other field of work, if what I did or said impacted millions of people, there will be regulatory compliance, third-party regulatory compliance. And you better believe there will be consequences if I did so carelessly. Except in the media, it's like they know that what they're doing is dangerous. You're creating hive mindsets and building up this mob mentality, and you are aiming all this anguish, your personal anguish, at one person. And you are using the readers and the viewers of your publication that you've been gracious enough to be able to get a job. I mean, I'm surprised you were employable after what you wrote on Twitter. You're abusing your publication's viewers and readers with your own personal hatred, self-hatred and otherwise. And it's simply not our problem. Rather than being an aggressive psycho mountain man writing articles projecting my hatred of self and others onto a single individual human being who I don't even know, who would probably still show me compassion that I don't deserve should they ever meet me, and who meeting would probably be the highlight of my boring, drab life. We see you. For the people who do those things, we see you. And Feminegra is clearly on the case. And as long as we have Feminegra, we are in the know. If you want some tips on how to do your job, Julie, I highly recommend checking out Feminegra's website. They know how to report information. And they also know how to share information as well as opinions and make it clear to their audience, because they're damn professionals. So that's all I have for y'all. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share so that more people can find us. And please remember, what you do matters. How you show up in the world matters. And the way you represent yourself matters. How you treat other people is important. And it is not anyone else's job to be a punching bag for your unresolved emotions. Go get some help.